When we say ultra-high performance summer tires are expected to deliver an outstanding blend of dry and wet street traction and handling, it may seem like an easy target. With modern tire technology, how hard can it be to develop a tire that's good in the wet and in the dry? But if we look a little closer, we see the definition of outstanding is marked by superiority or distinction, or excellent. So ultra-high performance summer tires aren't just expected to be good in the wet and the dry, they need to be excellent. And since these are true street tires, they can't sacrifice on-road manners in the search for outright performance either. So much for an easy target. The new for 2016 Firestone Firehawk Indy 500 arrived on the scene with aggressive looks that immediately created high expectations for its performance. To some, the blocky tread design and massive outboard shoulder look like they could have been taken from an extreme performance summer tire. Also new is Kumho's Ecsta PS31. Featuring a less aggressive directional tread pattern, the Ecsta PS31 promises a blend of wet and dry performance. To determine if these two new entries hit the mark for ultra-high performance summer tires, we rounded up the BFGoodrich G4 Sport Comp 2, which is the established leader in the category, along with the popular Dunlop Direzza DZ102 for a full comparison. Let's see what we found out. To start out this test, I'm driving on the BFGoodrich G4 Sport Comp 2, and really this is what steering is supposed to feel like. It's nicely weighted, it gives good feedback, and it's got this nearly perfect buildup of resistance that lets you know there's actually a mechanical connection between the steering wheel and the tire on the ground. It does have that tread noise over basically any surface at speeds under 50 miles an hour. It does a good job of damping over impacts, but you're aware of every bump because there's noticeable tread slap, so even if you can't feel them, you can hear them. The next tire I'm driving is the Dunlop Direzza DZ102, and this would be a good tire to live with on a daily basis. It's not a standout in any way, good or bad, but the turn-in's nice, the handling's responsive enough, it's not too loud, and it's pretty smooth. If anything, I'd say they could dial up the sport just a little bit since it is an ultra-high performance tire, but it's likely enough to satisfy most drivers. Now I'm driving on the Firestone Firehawk Indy 500, and this is what most people picture when they think ultra-high performance tires. The steering is so eager and just right now, it's like all you have to do is think about changing directions and the car does it. The other side of that though is there isn't much feedback or weight to the wheel, so it's almost like a computer simulation of steering. You turn the steering wheel and the car immediately follows, but there's no mechanical feel to what just happened. From a ride and comfort standpoint, the Firehawk is the stiffest of this group, but given its extremely aggressive looks, it's actually surprisingly quiet. To round out this test, I'm driving the Kumho Ecsta PS31, and from the daily driver side of things, sort of a comfort and on-road manner standpoint, it's a solid performer. It can get a little jiggly over some impacts, but other than that, it rides nicely and it's plenty quiet. As an ultra-high performance tire though, it unfortunately missed the mark. It feels a little mushy when changing directions, and there's this delay between when the wheel is turned and when the tire actually responds, which gives it a rubbery feel to the steering. Tires from the ultra-high performance summer category are dedicated street tires, but that doesn't mean they won't find their way to a local autocross or an SCCA Track Night in America event from time to time. 3 of the 4 tires in this test demonstrated that they could provide positive results in that type of situation. The first tire I'm driving is the BFGoodrich G4 Sport Comp 2, and it's a nice package here on the track. The steering makes it easy to place through turns, and the brake pedal feel is firm and nice to modulate. It's not quite as fast to respond to your steering inputs as the Firestone, and sometimes it can get a little out of sync front to rear through the slalom, but overall it strikes a very nice balance. Now I'm driving the Dunlop Direzza DZ102, and with this tire you can tell that the limits in any one area aren't quite as high as the best in the test, but it really makes the most of what it has to offer. It just blends everything together and communicates with the driver well, which makes it really friendly and easy to drive. Now I'm driving on the Firestone Firehawk Indy 500, and you take one look at this tire and you know that it was meant to perform. Fortunately, it does have the capabilities to back up that promise. Its lightning fast steering response and high levels of lateral grip definitely make it the king in the slalom in this test. It has the grip to just really hang on through the sweeping turns and does a good job of putting the car's power down on the way out. Overall, this is the new ultra high performance summer dry track champ. To round out this group, I'm driving on the Kumho Ecsta PS31, and this tire is a noticeable step behind the others in this test. From the dull steering response to handling that just kind of smears from point A to point B, it doesn't deliver what you'd expect from an ultra-high performance summer tire. Out on the wet track, the BFGoodrich is just a small step behind the first place Firestone. It has confident lateral and braking traction and gentle breakaway at the limit, which earned it high scores and favorable reviews from our testers. The Dunlop Direzza DZ102 couldn't quite match the other three tires in the wet. Compared to the others in this test, the driver had to move back the braking zones and be gentle through the slalom or when getting back on the throttle, and it all added up to lap times that were 2 seconds slower than the rest of the pack. The Firestone Firehawk Indy 500 led the group in the wet by a narrow margin. Though it exhibited the highest limits of the group, it was a little edgy when trying to extract 100% of the tire's performance. Its breakaway characters were somewhat abrupt, but was easy to catch and recover. The Kumho Ecsta PS31 wasn't the fastest, and it didn't have the best braking or skid pad numbers, but it was the easiest to drive. The handling was soft, like we found in the dry, which in the wet meant there was no real edge at the limit, just a gradual decline in available traction. The outstanding blend of dry and wet street traction and handling delivered by ultra-high performance summer tires makes them a popular choice for the drivers of sporty coupes and sedans looking for a tire to match their car's personality. Firestone's Firehawk Indy 500 backs up its aggressive looks with sharp reflexes and impressive dry grip that sets the bar for the dry track performance in this test. Though it's slightly louder on the road than the other tires here, the BFGoodrich G-Force Sport Comp 2 offers great steering feel and sporty handling in the dry or wet. The Kumho Ecsta PS31 falls short of our drivers' expectations on the dry track, but delivers balanced wet performance and an agreeable experience on the road. Rounding out the group is the Dunlop Direzza DZ102, which provides category-appropriate levels of handling and comfort on the dry track and on the road, but is ultimately held back by its relatively weak performance in the wet. As we compare tires side by side, we find each one has its own personality. It's not as easy as choosing between good and bad. So as you view our test results, it's important to focus on your priorities and what fits best with how, where, and what you drive. And be sure to go to TireRack.com to view our full test report and to learn more about the tires featured in this test.